As a Laker fan, I'm going to say anywhere from 15 to 22. LeBron James isn't a top 10 player in the NBA right now.
Gilbert Arenas just said LeBron James isn't a top 10 player in the NBA right now. The internet lost its mind. But Gil's response was perfect. He's 41 years old. Of course he's not top 10. That should be obvious. The fact that people are even debating whether a 41-year-old belongs in the top 10 says more about the league than it does about LeBron.
I would expect in the NBA, the biggest stage on earth, that a 41-year-old wouldn't be top 10. That says a lot about the NBA if a 41-year-old was actually top 10. Because I can tell you this for sure. If I was in today's game and a 41-year-old tried to guard me, he's going to be retired.
Is Gil right that LeBron's somewhere between 15 to 22, or is that disrespectful to his current production? Comment your ranking. Gilbert Arenas went on his podcast and addressed one of those takes that's been floating around the internet. LeBron James is not a top 10 player in the NBA right now. And Gil's reaction was absolutely perfect. He basically said, duh, no kidding. He's 41 years old. What did you expect?
LeBron James isn't a top 10 player in the NBA right now. Duh! He's 41 years old. He should be right here doing what I'm doing. He is 41. Of course, Mr. Obvious. He's not a top 10 player right now. Did you think of this all by yourself? Or were you actually watching the game and was like, oh my God, LeBron James is not top 10?
Here's exactly what Gil said. LeBron James is not a top 10 player right now. Duh. He's 41 years old. He should be right here doing what I'm doing. He is 41. Of course, Mr. Obvious, he's not a top 10 player right now. Did you think of this all by yourself? Or were you actually watching the game and was like, oh my God, LeBron James is not top 10? The sarcasm is dripping, and it's completely warranted. The fact that people are even having this debate, the fact that analysts and fans are genuinely arguing about whether a 41-year-old should be ranked in the top 10 players in the world, is absurd when you think about it. Of course he's not top 10. He's older than most coaches. He's been in the league for 22 years. The human body isn't designed to compete at an elite level in professional basketball at 41.
I would expect in the NBA, the biggest stage on earth, that a 41-year-old wouldn't be top 10. That says a lot about the NBA if a 41-year-old was actually top 10. Because I can tell you this for sure. If I was in today's game and a 41-year-old tried to guard me, he's going to be retired.
Gil continued, I would expect in the NBA, the biggest stage on earth, that a 41-year-old wouldn't be top 10. That says a lot about the NBA if a 41-year-old was actually top 10. Because I can tell you this for sure. If I was in today's game and a 41-year-old tried to guard me, he's going to be retired. You might want to look at some of them old heads that was trying to guard me in my 20s and they was in their late 30s. Barbecue chicken. That's the reality check everyone needs to hear. If LeBron James at 41 years old was genuinely a top 10 player in the NBA, that would be an indictment of the league's overall talent level. It would mean that the best young players in the world can't surpass a guy who's eligible for AARP membership. That's not a compliment to LeBron, that's an insult to everyone else. Gil was then asked where he would actually rank LeBron right now, and his answer was honest. If I had to rate him right now as a Laker fan, I'm going to say anywhere from 15 to 22. Anywhere from 15 to 22, right? You can argue anywhere through there.
Isn't it crazy that they keep that as the standard for Bron at year 41?
Yeah. That's what makes it funny. Wow, okay.
What's it called? Where do you think he is? If you had a number.
If I had to rate him right now, as a Laker fan, I'm going to say anywhere from 15 to 22. Anywhere from 15 to 22. Right? You can argue anywhere through there.
15 to 22. That's a fair range. It acknowledges that LeBron is still a very good player who can impact games, but it also recognizes the reality that he's not the dominant force he once was. He's missing games. He's had stretches of inconsistent play. His defense has fallen off a cliff. And most importantly, there are simply better players in the league right now. The co-host responded, "Okay, that makes sense. Just missing All-NBA status. That makes sense." And that's exactly right. LeBron is in that tier of really good players who aren't quite elite anymore. He's not making All-NBA teams. He's not in MVP conversations. He's a solid veteran who can still contribute, but he's not carrying teams to championships the way he used to.
Because, he missed so much games early, and then, and then some of those struggle games trying to get the rhythm back.
Gil explained the reasoning. Because he missed so much games early, and then now and then some of those struggle games trying to get the rhythm back. That's the other part of the equation. It's not just age, it's availability. LeBron has been missing more games. He's managing his body more carefully. And when he comes back from those absences, there's a period where he's not at his best. That inconsistency matters when you're ranking the best players in the league. The hilarious part of Gil's segment was when he addressed another fan comment suggesting that Gil himself could still play in the NBA today. Gil's response was perfect. "As much as I love you as a fan and you believe in me, these knees don't have the same opinion as you. I cannot play in the NBA today. Last year, 10 years ago, right? I'm 44. So 10 years ago at 34, I wasn't good enough to be in the NBA. Hence why I was out of the NBA at 32. These knees don't even bend. I can't play rec ball, let alone play in the NBA." That's the self-awareness that makes Gil so entertaining. He's not delusional about his own abilities. He knows he's done. He knows his body can't compete anymore. And he's making the point that if he couldn't hang in the league at 32, it's remarkable that LeBron is still playing at 41, even if he's not elite anymore.
The conversation then shifted to the NBA draft, and Gil gave some fascinating insights into how he'd approach having the #1 pick depending on which team he was running. His analysis was nuanced and showed real understanding of roster construction and market dynamics. If he's the Utah Jazz, he's taking A.J. DeBonsa because A.J. went to high school in Utah and played at BYU. The local connection matters for ticket sales and fan engagement. That's smart business thinking. If he's the Wizards, Gil said he'd probably take Nate Ament, the 6'10" or 6'11" prospect from Tennessee who can play the 3, 4, or 5 positions. His reasoning? I already have Sarr. You add that with Trae Young and some of those young pieces, that 4-man that can swing 3, 4, 5, I'm going to take that. That's positional flexibility thinking. Don't draft for immediate need, draft for long-term fit and versatility. Ament gives you a player who can defend multiple positions and doesn't overlap with what you already have. If he's trying to save his job as a GM, Gil said he'd take Cooper Flagg because Flagg is the safest pick. He's probably the most solid. I'm probably going to get a solid performance from him, which is going to be he's going to be a 20-12 guy. Guaranteed 20-12, steady, probably make 2-3 All-Star games, right? That's the pick you make when you need to justify your decision to ownership. You take the guy with the highest floor. And if he's Brooklyn with the #1 pick, Gil is taking Darren Peterson because I need a guard in Brooklyn who has those attributes that New York likes. Got the bop, can shoot, can jump, athletic, he's a star. I can push that brand in the mecca of basketball. That's market awareness. Brooklyn needs a star who fits the New York basketball culture. Peterson gives you that. It's not just about talent, it's about fit, market, and brand building. The most interesting part was when Gil was asked if Trae Young being in Washington would stop him from drafting Peterson if he had the first pick. Gil said it wouldn't stop him, but he'd rather go after height because I already have a guard who does, Trae needs the ball in his hands, and then from there I just find pieces around him that he can throw lobs to that just makes mismatches. That's roster construction philosophy. Don't duplicate skill sets.
If you already have a ball-dominant guard, surround him with complementary pieces rather than drafting another ball-dominant guard and forcing them to coexist. Then, Gil went off on a tangent about Dyson Daniels that perfectly illustrated his point about defense-only players not being valuable. Daniels made all-defense last year, but wasn't even a top 5 player on his own team. He's shooting historically bad from three-point range. He hasn't made a three-pointer since December 14th. He hasn't made 2 threes in a single game all season. Gil's point was brutal and accurate. When you're trying to figure out who the best all-time is, defense really isn't part of the category until we got everything situated with the scoring titles, right? The first-team All-NBAs, the MVPs, the All-Star games. Once you get all that stuff that people pay to come see, then you use defense awards to say who's a little bit better than the other. But when you lead with defense, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. He's absolutely right. You can be first-team all-defense and not even be a top 30 player in the league. Dyson Daniels proves that. Defense alone doesn't make you valuable if you're a complete liability on offense. Gil explained the logic perfectly. If he's playing against Luka, who actually has the advantage in that game? Who you think is harder to guard for Luka? Trae Young, who has no defense but has offense, or Dyson? Who you think Luka would have a problem with? The guy who's trying to score 30 like him? Because now Luka has to play defense. I've never understood having that player that's only in there for defense because they've never heard an offensive player speak. Hello, he's here to stop me. Great. I'm conserving my energy when he's on offense because he can't score. That's elite-level basketball IQ talking. Offensive players don't worry about defensive specialists because they know they can rest on the other end. The defensive specialist might hold you under your average, but he's giving you free possessions when his team has the ball. It's a net negative. Gil summarized it perfectly. If I got a tiger, only way to take down a tiger is to bring out your tiger. You need two-way players. Defense-only guys are useful in specific matchups, but they're not difference makers over a full season.
Bringing it back to LeBron, the entire conversation highlighted why LeBron's ranking has dropped. He's not the two-way force he used to be. His defense has declined significantly. He's missing games. He's 41 years old. And there are simply better, younger, more complete players in the league right now. The fact that people are surprised or offended by the suggestion that LeBron isn't top 10 anymore shows how much his reputation is built on legacy rather than current performance. Nobody would bat an eye if you said Tim Duncan wasn't top 10 in his final seasons. Nobody argued that Kobe was still elite at the end. But with LeBron, there's this expectation that he defies aging indefinitely. He doesn't. Nobody does. Father Time is undefeated, and at 41, LeBron is firmly in the 15 to 22 range, which is still impressive, but not elite. That's the reality. Accept it and move on. Gilbert Arenas just said what everyone's thinking but afraid to say. LeBron at 41 isn't top 10 anymore. He's somewhere between 15 and 22. If you agree with Gil's ranking, smash that like button. If you think LeBron's still top 10 and Gil's disrespectful, hit subscribe and defend your position in the comments. Either way, this debate isn't ending anytime soon.